Hi, and welcome back to another episode of SEO on Air. I'm your host, Aaron, and today we have Cash Miller, CEO of Titan Digital, with us. We talk about how to grow and manage your business, local search marketing, and AI tools and its capabilities. I hope you enjoy this episode. Was that you do have some kind of history being in the army, right? I think back in 95 or 98.
Yeah, I was in the Army two separate times. First time in from 1995 to 98, and then I went back in 2007 and stayed till 2011. Went to a lot of different places across the world and such. Germany and Bosnia and Herzegovina, Iraq, Afghanistan. And we got around quite a bit.
I believe also in that time you were also trying to run paid ads from Google from Afghanistan.
Yeah, my first ever. I started learning SEO specifically in 2007, and um, I ended up, over time with the projects that I was working on, there were side projects and stuff. But eventually, I had people that were interested in paying me to do, to provide the service and such. And some of them wanted to do paid ads, which at the time I hadn't really done either. But until you do something, you don't get good at it. So I took on my first paid ad client. It was a mergers and acquisitions company, actually, and I was running paid ads, and I got deployed to Afghanistan. And so I had to, in my off time, I would go to like the MWR, which would have computer terminals and stuff because we didn't, internet connections were a little bit spotty and stuff, of course, from a personal standpoint. So you'd go there, you'd use the computers, and I would go and manage their paid ads and such that I was running. And I remember a time where, they wanted to get on a phone call, and I wasn't advertising I was in the military or anything. This was a side gig. So um, they insisted on a phone call, so I ended up borrowing like a buddy's. It was before phones like nowadays. It's ridiculous. You can call from anywhere, but I had to get. I think it was a satellite phone or something that a friend of mine had brought, and I said, "Hey, I need to borrow it." And so it's like 11 o'clock. I'm in the middle of this base in Kandahar, and I'm talking to them back in the States, and they had no idea, where I was actually at. Like I say, it wasn't, they weren't paying me enough for it to be a full time gig. So, I would just do it in my spare time and keep learning, everything I could about paid ads and such.
When did you kind of know that this was right for you and you want to continue that as your career?
I started my agency in 2011, and I got out. I was in Afghanistan at the time, and I made the decision because I was near the end of my contract with the military. So I made the decision is like, okay, I can stay and I can re-up and stuff, or I, can get out and do something else. And I started thinking about it. It's like, well, at that point I'd been doing SEO for side projects, helping people, and so I was being paid, in a few instances to be able to work on other people's traffic and stuff. And I was like, maybe I could make a living doing this. And I started doing my own research. And I wasn't thinking agency or anything. I was thinking, what does it take for me to go on my own and sell this as a service? I barely knew anything about website design itself. I knew WordPress at that point really thoroughly because I was using it for myself. I was working on other client sites, and it was, of course, already very popular. But making the decision to say, okay, I'm going to sell this. So I knew SEO inside and out, but I didn't, social media was still brand new. It was, programmatic ads hadn't really come along, not yet. And, so it was websites, SEO, and pay-per-click stuff. And I was like, well, I think I could sell this as a service. And, eventually you just got to take the leap and do something. And I was prepared to, be able to go at it for about 6 months, to see if I could make it work and hustle, and that's what I did.
So, if you don't mind me asking, what exactly are some of the services that Titan Digital provides that you can maybe are not proud of to talk about?
Yeah, we're full service. Okay. But we've got a team of like 30 people. So I've got experts dealing with every particular area. So, but the thing is we didn't start full service, most agencies don't because you're one person, or maybe you're a couple of partners or something. So, our evolution over time, we started with SEO, and then I had to offer websites and websites because I couldn't SEO something that didn't exist. And of course, if I'm already doing SEO, well, paid pay-per-click ads make sense. I can do that. And then eventually, social media comes along, and you start getting requests. Okay, let me check into social media, and you take that on as a service. Then we went to adding video production. We've done a lot of videos, like 30-second spots about videos for companies, things like that. And which case you keep evolving. Eventually, we dabbled in email marketing, gave it up. Now we do it a lot. We've got a lot of clientele that ask for it and stuff. And then, like most recently in the last couple of years, we added programmatic advertising. So streaming audio, video, HTML5 ads and stuff that you'll see on websites everywhere and stuff, because platforms came out that made it a lot more feasible to run those ads and have control. You're not necessarily turning it over to somebody else. You have somebody that's a partner, to be able to run those ads because they have the distribution network. But there's multiple platforms out there. It used to be the realm of large agencies, and smaller agencies couldn't really get in. Now it's possible, but you have to, with each thing, you have to be willing to learn it, understand what's the capabilities are. If like I say, if you've got a partner you're going to work with, another company that can run part of it and stuff. Like I say, we've got distribution that has to be handled. We don't have that network. They have access to the DSPs and stuff. So that, is something where we've had to learn it really well, because you have to learn how it works so you can become an expert in it. And then you got to learn how to sell it, and how to pair it up. Like, what kind of clients is it going to be right for? So that's, so I say you become full service if you are patient. It'll happen on its own over time, because you'll get opportunities to do something, then you'll want to know how, and your team will slowly expand, and other people can take on some of that responsibility, and you don't have to try to know everything. Like, you'll know it, but knowing it, selling it, and actually doing the day to day is two different. They're totally different.
But one thing I think I can add on to that is I think all the areas that you mentioned, to some extent, can be improved or assisted by AI. So I just
Oh
wanted
yeah.
to know your thoughts on that.
Yeah, AI is like, the way that they're starting to incorporate it, like Google and what they're testing right now for the search results. How it's going to actually change how we interact. When we do a search, they're not going to get rid of organic. They're not going to get rid of paid ads, because the organic is a moneymaker. Because sites need organic traffic. They're not going to pay for traffic and then have advertising on there and such. To be able to click and make money that way. So Google has to be very careful about how they're putting that stuff, together to use what their system's called BARD. So to put that in there and how the results will show, Google always wants that greatest experience. So AI is going to help improve that experience. And the same thing goes with other things. AI is already making a lot of people's, in the marketing world, if you're embracing it, it's making it a lot easier. Like, we're using it to help. We've set up different prompts and such, like our content writing. We build a lot of websites, so we need a lot of content, and I don't like, we have a policy of not requiring the clients to supply it. If they can, if they want, but we found that we end up waiting for the client potentially for a long time because they don't know what to write. But writing takes time, and we've seen where we've been able to incorporate it and write. We're putting together our own prompts to write website content, home pages, service pages, different things, let alone social media stuff. I had one of my people write like a year's worth of posts, for a type of client we work with. And because because it's the stuff that you're going to put out, it's not the in the moment stuff. It's the stuff you're going to end up providing over and over again. So, and blog posts, geez. And Google went and said, hey, we don't care, how you provide the content, as long as it's high quality, that's all we really care about. And so AI changes that landscape, because we can produce content a lot faster. This is helping for us with our website speed up our timelines. And we're able to provide high quality. You avoid some burnout on the people because you still have to have somebody putting it together, right? So that makes it a lot easier because you get writer's block and things. Because we use Chat GPT, and I can say, hey, give me 10 ideas on this, and then, okay, take idea number 5 and, put me together
Expand on that.
expand on that idea and stuff. And so it's, from a content standpoint, it's a game changer. It's the biggest thing since they decided to be, companies like HubSpot came along and said, hey, this is what content marketing looks like. So it became a total game changer from that standpoint.
If, let's say, everyone is now creating content to rank on Google, let's say, what content will actually rank on Google then?
I think what you're going to have is the landscape already is crowded. Okay. A lot of the good terms and stuff that you could have been high traffic, people have already found them, because we've had a decade of going after it, and, that content's up there. So what's going to happen is, I think what you'll get is more informed content. You're going to get more long form content because Google, loves 1,500 words and stuff. So if it's going to be blog post related, some sort of article, I think you're going to see more people be able to do longer stuff. And that's what's going to actually change, like, what's ranking now, because you're going to have people that didn't have the resources necessarily. They didn't have a whole team of writers and, hey, let's target these keywords and stuff. They didn't have this stuff, the ability to put out a lot of it. They had a little. And so that content can kind of get dominated by larger companies. And I think smaller ones are going to be able, if they embrace using things like chat, they're going to be able to compete better, because they're going to have I can put together a 1,500 word article in like 10 minutes. It takes me longer to write the prompt than chat's going to take to write the article.
Right.
And be able to smooth it out and make it really sound good and such. So I think you're going to end up with more saturation, because smaller agencies, companies, you name it, content marketing is going to be even bigger in a sense, because as long as Google doesn't mess with the way that, they're incorporating BARD into it so that you can still get significant traffic, from ranking well. I think you're going to have companies that have been entrenched for a long time for like certain keywords and stuff, pieces that they may have written years ago. I think they're going to start seeing some competition online, and then it's going to be a matter of what's ranking. But what'll happen is those longer pieces, the better keyworded, better SEO'd ones, they have a chance to knock off ones that maybe shouldn't have, they were kind of ranking by default.
So here's the question then. Let's say I ask ChatGPT to create an article that is long form in content, includes keywords and buzzwords, has enough relevant links and everything. And then I come up with a good, well-written article that is optimized and will probably rank on Google. The question is, what if everyone else is doing this exact same process? Does that kind of change the ranking?
Yeah, you're going to have, I think, well, one of the things that may happen is you won't be you won't be able to entrench as long. You'll have, right now you have pieces that have lasted forever, right? You end up on the top first or second slot, and it takes a while to knock you off. And it really it's going to depend on the target keywords. Honestly, it'll make the link building more necessary, for those, if it's going to be a popular piece. So if you've got something where the keyword's got some real value to it, so that it's going to be naturally more competitive, the link building to get a piece to rank is going to be more necessary. And what you're going to have is, the content that ranks currently and stuff, it's going to get knocked off faster, I think. Because Google also wants to show, if the content's solid, it'll tend to, want to push up stuff that's newer, as long as the site itself is strong. So if it's a good authority site, so that's what it's going to come down to is like who with the strength is actually going to be doing this. There's going to be a lot of stuff though that has been, articles and stuff, blog posts that have been around a long time, that are going to get knocked off now, because there are areas that were not targeted. If anything, people are going to be looking for more opportunity. Think about it, it's like, okay, I used to produce 10 pieces of content in a month, so I could go after 10 target keywords. But now with chat, I can produce 50 pieces of content and go after 50 different keywords. So a lot of the smaller things are going to get, they're going to get knocked off. Like I say, a Google search and find some article from 5 years ago, that you can see has, gets decent traffic, well, that article is going to get knocked off because somebody's going to come along and say, I can do this, and now I have the time to do it. I have this assistant, so I can put out more content. That's going to be what really shakes things up because the volume is going to increase dramatically.
Kind of to maybe ask one more question about, let's say, AI with content specifically before going to how AI can help with SEO, is where do you stand on, let's say, the ethics of all this?
I find I fall on the side of it's a tool. Okay. If you use it to write a lot of content, you still need somebody that is inputting and understands what makes a good piece of content. They have to write their prompts correctly and stuff to be able to do it. It speeds things up. So here's one of the things that we've kind of dealt with internally is because chat has other functions you can hook up to it. So one of those is I can't think of the name of the system, but is image and graphics. Okay, so you can hook up a third-party system to chat. It taps into that system, and then you ask chat to design me a logo. All right. Well, it can design you a logo. And you can say, hey, give me 10 different variations of this, and you can put in the concept and everything. The thing that I see, though, is, and this is how it does not totally replace a designer, it can assist a designer. Okay. But if you ask it to design the logos, you still need someone like the logos. We've done it to test it, and there's too much similarity. It's the same type of concepts. Chat doesn't have the ability to really differentiate to design things that are totally different. It keeps giving you back the same type of stuff. It looks really good, but it's very similar. So what I suggested, I said, look, the way to go about this is use it as an assistant.
There's actually something that I kind of read somewhere as well, that a lot of coders use ChatGPT as a way to help them code, but not a lot of them have just used purely ChatGPT to code something, because if you don't know what you're putting in, you're going to get garbage back.
Yeah, that's exactly it. If you don't know what to put in, you're going to get garbage back. And, so we've got our developers using it as an assistant because a lot of times, what do? Again, just like design, you go online, you find some code that was written, already to do a certain function. You know what you need it to do, but you're not sure how to write it. So you go find a place where somebody else already wrote it, and then you're borrowing that code. You're using that because they've made it available. Well, chat can write the code if you can describe the function. So it's doing the same thing. You're not saying, write me an entire homepage. You're saying, I need the function to do this. And you can use it for quality control too, to check your own code for errors if something's not working.
To now move into the SEO side of that, can AI help in terms of SEO, in terms of, let's say, keyword research or optimizing your content as well?
Depending on what you plug it into, it can help with the keyword research, but really with optimizing content. SEO has a bit of monotony to it. You go through a page and you got to plug in the keywords, and you've got your rules to follow and stuff if you're going to, optimize, any page correctly and stuff. But working in keywords a percentage, a certain percent of the time, and being able to work keywords in so that they are like highlighted correctly, and they're not, repeating themselves over and over again. Like some people still think, you have to put the keyword in the exact order and stuff. And of course you don't have to do that. Yeah. So I think you can get it, AI will help you put keywords in more naturally. Yeah. And again, it's also going to help in the case of, any kind of blog content, which is typically done to target specific keywords. You're going to be a lot better off using AI there because it's going to be able to, work it throughout the content and still have it make sense. Yeah. Like I say, because when you're focused on a specific keyword or two, often the content kind of gets ruined because of it if you overdo it. But there is a certain level that you have to do to make sure it's going to rank. So I think it makes it a lot easier. Again, it does add to the speed because it can do it a lot faster than you can do it yourself. So that's a difference.
Also, when you mentioned there's a plugin that you can use, do you know what plugin that is? And maybe we can talk about that for a second.
The easiest way to do keyword research is going to use you're going to go straight to like your Google Keyword Planner, or you're going to use a program like SEMrush or something, that's where it's integrated in, to that already. So you're going to want to have one of those third-party systems to do that research. The the thing about keyword research that I've always taught it as being a two-part thing. Okay, everybody goes after the keyword itself and then the amount of traffic and stuff it gets. Okay, and it's like, okay, if you go into Planner, it's going to tell you, okay, this keyword here gets 200 hits, a month. This one gets 1,000 and stuff, and everybody's going to go, okay, wow. Especially if you're new to this. Okay, if you're not new, you know the things to do. But if you are new, you're going to go after and say, oh, this would, if we can rank for this, we would get all this traffic and stuff. And the piece that they miss is they need to actually check the results. You need to go and do a search for that keyword, because you need to see how much competition there is for it. And it's really the only good way to check, to be sure of it and stuff. Like I say, we've got different tools. There's plenty of things, that we can use. WordStream's got good tools, like I say, SEMrush, Moz, there's plenty of platforms for these different tools, and they all take a different, take on it, of how they're providing you the data. But the simplest thing to do is actually search for it and then look at the number in the top left and see how many competing pages there are. Because I guarantee you, and that's the thing, what I was mentioning earlier about saturation. If it's got high traffic, and you've got, so there's a ton of competition, you got to get the competing pages part down to find the opportunities. So you start with ones that look like good opportunities. Then you check the results, and you need a low count. It's amazing if you find anything that shows under 1 million results. My rule of thumb's always been look for at least try to get under 5 million if you can. To give yourself a reasonable chance at ranking. That's not going to take forever, especially if you're trying to rank without doing a lot of keyword building link building. If you're not going to do a bunch of link building and you're trying to rank with the content, well, now that's, chat's going to let you write that 1,500 word post a lot easier, and it's going to be nice and keyword rich and everything. Well, how many pages is it going to compete against? Because the more pages you have in there, the tougher it's going to be, no matter what. And then and then check the actual results. Go back a couple of pages, hit page 2, page 3, and stuff. See what you're going to compete with. Because you can see 1 million pages, you can see 100 million pages as a result, but how many are actually relevant? Because keywords are one of those things. By the time you're back on page 10 or 20 of the results, this stuff's not really relevant. It just happens to mention whatever it is you're targeting. But it's not really competition. So you want to see how deep the competition actually goes, where that is what they're targeting. Is it, one page, or is it, the next 5, like pages of results? Because you're going against, 10 competing pages in reality, or you're going against 50. So that's the thing. You need to, dig into it just a little more. It doesn't take but a few minutes to do it. And see how much you're actually going to have to face off against. And then visit a couple of them on top of it and see what's actually ranking. Check the first 3 or 4 results. Are those content, is the content longer? Is it actually keyword rich? Is it targeted the same way you're planning on targeting it and stuff? Is it showing up, but they were actually targeting something slightly different? Because it can be in the results because it's very similar in nature. So look at that as well. But you want to see when you're, digging in, what's your odds? Because even with chat, you're still going to spend some time, you put it together, publish the post and everything. Do you have any reasonable chance of ranking for it? So I say it's not just, you need the planner or one of the other systems and stuff to be able to do, see what to target. Then you got to see what's the likelihood of actually getting a positive result out of it.
And then you can pretty much use that information to at least inform the tool to give you the content that you kind of desire.
Yeah, exactly. Because, once you've done that, then it's like, okay, now I can go back into chat and I can say, build me an article around this particular keyword. So, you can use the keyword to tell it, I need to give me 10 titles using this keyword in the title, for content that can be written. Find which one makes the most sense. then ask it to write the article, include that keyword, within the content. Say, tell it to put it in from an SEO standpoint. And then once you've done that, okay, now you have your piece to work with.
So, in terms of, let's say, using AI to help in other areas which aren't, let's say, directly content, I'm speaking specifically about the GME post and local search. Can we also use AI in that, and how do we do that?
Yeah, totally. With the GMB, because you can use chat, for any kind of social media stuff. So I would highly encourage, when you're building out a GMB listing, the service sections are huge. You should be taking and building out all of them. The service sections get a little bit neglected, but um, they are really the thing that's going to help that GMB listing rank. Okay, because think about if you have a business that has 10 or 15 different services. Like we work with insurance companies a lot, and they offer a whole range of different types of insurance. Car, home insurance, auto insurance, auto renters, jewelry insurance, you name it, tornado insurance, whatever it may be. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to take all of those services, whatever it is, or products, you want to build out a service category for each one, because that's going to give it a chance to rank for that category. So if somebody does a search for renters insurance and you get local results, that come back with it of agencies that mention that they offer it, you need those services built out to have that happen. I don't care if it's, you got 5 things or you got 50, build them all out, because it's an unlimited thing that you can do, and each allows for a certain character account. So what you should be doing is using chat, say, build in this location too, for the service. So put it in, we serve, wherever, providing this. And you build it out each one. That's People get a little bit lazy and they don't go as far as they need to. And you really want to go as far as you can, with it. So it's really important. And AI is just going to help you do it a lot faster, and a lot more thorough and stuff. Because like I say, when it comes to content, we get lazy. Use it. Use chat. It's going to help you build it out. You're going to do things that, in 1/10 the time that you wouldn't have otherwise done. So that's really important to be able to do it.
I was seeing a lot of scam messages on WhatsApp telling people that you could get like a job and we'll pay you just to like YouTube videos.
Yeah.
But the same kind of thing is now being happening. I think it has been happening for a while also to companies and their employees' emails.
Scams have been around since the dawn of the internet. I saw a thing the other day was, they took the first, like one of the first ads you ever saw, and it was like, great, we're already got spammers, for it and stuff. And it was like the 90s. So the scams, forever we've gotten email scams. Amazon Prime, your account's been limited, or Netflix, or something. Here, enter your credentials here and stuff. And you have all those basic ones, okay? But in the last year plus, companies are now getting targeted very, very heavily. Part of it is there's a plenty of different types of software out that can help you find email addresses for any company, right? Yeah, there's software like Hunter.io we use. There's another one that you can use. It's a Chrome extension. Go to a website and you can get a bunch of the emails straight off of the site and stuff. So finding contact information is not a problem. And then you have, on top of it, take the 2 of the biggest systems out there. You take Office 365 and you take Google. Well, it's easy enough to identify the email what system you're using by just checking. Look at the name servers. You can see the records, right? So if you can see the records, you can identify that they're on Office or Google or whatever, and you can start to plug them in your system with everybody else that you're going to try to scam, and send out emails targeting that. So hey, I get ones that are like, because we use Office 365, I get SharePoint scams and stuff saying, hey, this file was shared with you, click and download and stuff like that. But one of the things that I've seen coming through at a ridiculous rate is accounting scams and such now. They used to not, for years we were never targeted and stuff. And now it seems like I get something almost every single day, I think, that is something where you just paid this invoice, or pay this one here, or download this, receipt or something. And, I'm been doing this a long time, so I'm trained to recognize these things. And I also know our systems inside and out. I know who we're paying. Okay. And so I'm not worried about myself. I delete them or report them as phishing and stuff, no problem. What I'm worried about is you take the accounting, the actual accounting person that you have, and they may think that you paid something and then they got the receipt and they just don't know about it and they're going to go enter it. So they're going to have to click the file. Yeah. And that's going to be the problem. And that's the thing that companies now need to be really watching out for, because you need to train your employees and you need to have in place systems, like checks and balances to say, look, you do not download any of this stuff. These are our list of approved vendors. If you get something from them, that's fine. Because, we think of all the things we pay for online automatically. We use a bunch of software. I'm not going to go pay for it every month, but your employees need to know what it is you're actually using, so that they get something that is questionable, they don't click it. Because you think of, click one of those SharePoint scams or something, if they got access to any kind of files and stuff that you may have that are like company-wide client information, things like that, it's very, very possible for that kind of stuff to happen. So you have to be really aware. Like I say, you can be really well versed. You know all the scams. You know what's coming out. You don't have a problem. You're not the problem, for your company. It's the employees, especially any brand new ones that you may have hired.
Right. So what are some,
That's
let's
the
say,
issue.
what are some steps that you can, let's say, mention to an employee to kind of avoid falling victim to these scams?
For us, it's regular training. So I get these scams a lot. And what I end up doing is we take a lot of screenshots of them so that we can point out, what they're saying. I'll tell you. So there's one lately. We've gotten even text scams. Okay, and they always ask for freaking gift cards and stuff. But so my employees have gotten ones, and they're not from my number. So I have to tell them my cell phone so that they know, unless it's from this number, it's not real. Okay, because it'll say, hey, this is Cash. Can you go, I'm in a meeting with this client. I need you to go do this. I'm going to give them some gift cards. Like,
Really? Yeah.
why the hell would I be giving anybody gift cards? But I'm not asking you during a meeting to go do that. So I have to teach the employees that this is not my behavior.
I think with AI, it's not going to get easier. I think they're going to use that to just make things more
It's,
believable.
yeah, and it's actually already happening. Is the thing. They are using AI to write more legitimate sounding emails, because the grammar is all going to be correct. So that's going to be an issue. It's going to make it sound more legit. So it's even more important that you pay attention to where these things are actually coming from, and do you recognize the companies or these things that you deal with. Luckily, always remember the company that the scammer that's sending you this email, they don't know the actual companies you deal with, so they're just taking a shot in the dark that you might deal with a certain type of system. They're not even paying attention what type of business you are. Okay, they're just mass sending to and seeing who falls for it, because they're looking for the easiest way to do this. So they're not doing any real research. And so that's kind of the issue is, and what can help you is, because they're not doing that, you should be able to quickly identify that these things, these are not companies you actually deal with. We deal, and especially in the digital marketing industry, we deal with a lot of obscure companies that you never heard of. The average, I say, people have not heard of Moz or, these other companies from, because they're not mainstream. They're specific to our industry. So I'm not likely to get a scam from that. That's why they try with the office scams. Hey, SharePoint sent you a file. And that's another note that I'll make, a point that I'll make too, is make sure that you have specific rules in place. So for example, we do not send files like that through email now, SharePoint files and stuff. We always share the link through Teams. So we'll get, I need to share this file with somebody. So we don't share and let the system send an email anymore because of that. Because I don't want you getting confused. If I have one rule, and you never receive it that way, then you always know that if you did get something, it's not legit.
But what are, let's say, 3 books that you would recommend our readers and listeners? They don't have to be, let's say, business or digital marketing related. They could just be 3 books that you felt a connection to.
Well, I read a lot of business books. So the 3 that I would have, was it the Rand Fishkin, the founder of Moz? He's got his Lost and Founder. So that's always at the top of my list. That book is really good. His journey in building Moz. Yeah. And he started as a digital marketing company, doing website design and stuff back in like 2002 or something. So I love that one. 2 others that I'd have. One that I read recently is called Hangry. It's the story of Grubhub. Yeah, that one's really interesting because the founder, they went public and he was able to finally kind of divest himself, and so he's not with the company anymore, but he tells the story of growing it, and he does it while at the same time biking across the United States. And the thing is he did the bike tour because he needed to find himself, because he had been for a decade working at 8-hour weeks. He'd put in everything and he'd made a lot of sacrifices to be able to do that. So that's a really good book. And the other one, and they just came out with a movie that almost follows along, is Shoe Dog. I love that one.
Do you listen to podcasts? What would be your
My
3 recommendations?
Well, okay, so I don't really have 3 recommendations. I have like one big area. Yeah, so I listen to a company called Wondery, and they have a couple of podcasts they're business related, but they again tell them in a fictional manner. So they do Business Wars, which is really good, where they 2 companies competing each other. They're always big companies and whatnot. And then they have another one that's basically I don't remember the name of it, but it's one of theirs also, that is telling the story of these businesses individually. Okay, but like the first one I ever listened to, and their format is really good. So they use like people telling the stories as if they were there. Okay, that they are these people. And each episode, they'll usually have anywhere from like 5 to 7 episodes, and each episode will be about 20 minutes. So they're really digestible. And they've been running the podcast since like 2017. So there's a lot of content. Like I listen to it on Amazon Prime, and I don't have to pay the subscription because they've put out so much that I'm still catching up before I'd ever have to pay them to be able to, listen to the most recent episodes. But they'll have like, Pepsi versus Coke. They've got, I think Miller and Budweiser is in there. The first one I ever was Blockbuster getting clobbered by Netflix. It's those kinds of stories that are in there. A standalone one that's really good is they told the story of Disney and getting the land in Florida and stuff when they built the Walt Disney World. So each is typically based on some business book, or a couple of books, and they'll even tell you which ones that, because they would have gotten with the authors to be able to tell the stories and stuff. So they will tell you what books that they did for, to pull their source material. But I say each is, literally a fictional, deal where it's like, you'll hear knock, knock, knock. The CEO is knocking on about to enter into the boardroom or whatever. And there's all sorts of like, they'll go back into like early history too. That's the thing. Like, they do Coke, Pepsi, and we think maybe the 80s and 90s and stuff. No, they go back to the founding of Coke, to be able to tell the story. And same thing with, Pepsi and stuff, is, how they got started and everything. So the stories are like really good, Walmart and Target and, but also lesser, companies. Spotify is one that was a great story,
All right. So thank you, Cash, for the call. It's been a really interesting conversation.
Yeah, no problem. It's been good.
All right. And hopefully we can get you for round 2. Just making sure we can get that on the call.
Yeah, totally.
Thanks for watching that episode. I hope you enjoyed. For more videos like this, make sure you like and subscribe.